Yahweh Bashem, Yahushai, Bashem, Makakwadash, double honors to the elders and apostles, great Nelson of well. I am not a member, however, I've entered into their labors. Peace and mercy to the sincere brothers and sisters, students, wherever you are, whatever your lot may be. This is something quick, kind of like a warning. Make sure, whatever you're researching, that you do a diligent search. Walking circumspect, okay? Paying attention, redeeming the times, according to the book of Ephesians. Not only, um, you know, as far as linking the, world events and geopolitical events to the scriptures and prophecy measuring the time, but also paying attention to your enemy, okay? The internet is an interesting place, this unicorn, right? And sometimes you don't know, um, if something is this devil taking advantage of fear mongering or if it is a legitimate thing. But at the end of the day, no matter what, you'll see what I'm getting at here pretty soon. But uh, at the end of the day, there is no doubt about the fall of Babylon. Now, how soon it happens, it is only the Lord knows. But I'm gonna play this, and I pulled up Grok, and I pulled. Let me let this play. It'll all make sense in just a second here. Okay. You can see the title or the caption about Hong Kong stopping the postal service to the U.S. Okay, which could include 50% medical supplies, 91% of medication. Now, is that 91% of medication? Uh, it's a. And here's the thing: you have to pay attention to how things are worded. Okay, 50% medical supplies of what is that the 50 if the is the 50 and 91 in the total encompassing of what's being imported, or are they saying that 50% of what they ship is going to be cut in half, meaning we lose 25%? Either way, you got to pay attention to what's being said and don't be quick to repost things, especially like these AI newsletters that are coming out on here that I truly believe are three-letter organizations that are trying to sow, discord and rev up these dumbass white nationalists that don't know the difference. They don't know their ass from their elbow. But I'm gonna let this play, all right? And then I went to Grok because I still can't determine what's what. It could just be because the Grok is also has a programmer. Like the things are within the answers that you get are still within a set parameters. All right.
Healthcare, and Hong Kong just announced yesterday that they were completely stopping all postal service to the United States. Who did that? Hong Kong. Hong Kong, okay. And we get 50% of all of our medical supplies and 91% of our medications from China. So hospitals are going to close. Yeah. What immediate action will you take to stop this? Hospitals are going to be immediately crippled as soon as next week. So I work in...
Now, don't be fooled. This place, Babylon is in grave danger. Babylon is in trouble. And it's very obvious to see. And these hospitals are going to start, people are going to start dying. People are going to silently just kind of pass away. A lot of medications do come from everywhere except here. All right. And before we continue, Jeremiah 51:8. Let me get that. Let me get a scripture first before we continue. Starting with 7. Jeremiah 51:7 and 8 and 9, actually. Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that hath made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. All right, they've laid down with this whore, now they got a VD. Okay, and a small example you can use with that is like the Bretton Woods Agreement, okay, where these nations went ahead and said, all right, we'll use the dollar. All right, we'll peg our currency to the dollar. Okay, and then we have all these bases that are over there, and a separate thing, because Babylon spreads everywhere like a disease. they establish all these bases and they put all these, these feelers out and spread a lascivious lifestyle, spread a disgusting culture where, in times past, these other cultures had a little bit more, had some morals, had, a family unit. They were a little bit closer to, what the scriptures would prescribe. Not that they have the promise, but, you get what I'm saying here. Verse 8, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain. If so, she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go, every one, into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. So we know that this place, it is on life support, and it is almost over. All hell is about to break loose. People will die. Supplies will stop. Things are going to start costing more. That's the initial response, is how much things are going to cost. Okay, but as supplies, as price raises and supply is cut short and demand grows, all right, now you have to think about how much crime is already going to raise, or how much crime is already up, but now think about how much more crime is going to raise. Okay, when these drug addicts can't get their fix, all right, or when I say that, I mean anything from uh, prescription meds to just sugar, basic sugar. This fake nasty food that people eat on a regular. All right, you have a nation that has lived deliciously, and people just did what they want, eat when they want, just whatever. Nobody practiced any sort of denial, and now they're going to be forced into it. Okay, so let me get back to the point of what I was making. All right, so 50%, 91%. All right, hold on. So I went here to Grok and I typed in how much. All right, what percentage of U.S. medical supplies come from China? Okay. Estimated on the percentages of U.S. medical supplies vary depending on the data source and specific category, right? And this is what I was saying here. You have to be mindful of the things that you post. Make sure you look and be responsible and do your due diligence and look in to see what actually is going on, all right? Um, so equipment, and that's the thing. You got equipment and devices. All right, supplies about 28%. Now 30% is a lot still. It's quite a bit. So people are going to feel it. PPE as of 2018, 43% of PPE. All right, so or that's personal protective equipment. All right, your gloves and your garment. Oh, it already said it here. All of that. Okay. Pharmaceuticals and active pharmaceuticals claims 80 to 90%. All right, are often cited but misleading. A 2020 study by Alvere Health, Avalere Health estimated that only 6% of APIs used in U.S. consumer medicines are directly sourced. Okay. Let's see. However, China dominates specific APIs, like 97% of U.S. antibiotics. Okay, and 90% of vitamin C. Okay, so vitamins by antibiotics are a big thing here. In general, for obvious reasons. Okay, so social media claims posts on X have claimed figures as high as 50% for medical supplies, 91% for medications, but these are inaccurate or exaggerated generic drug reliance rather than origin. Oh, rather than origin. For example, the 91% figure likely refers to the proportions of U.S. prescriptions filled with generics, not their manufacturing origin. Okay, so I think most of the medicine, I believe, comes from India, not China, but please do not quote me on that. Um, let's check it out. So whenever it's ready to go. Okay. And again, you never know. This could be Oh, generic drugs. India is a major supplier of generic drugs, which makes up 91% of U.S. prescriptions. Its estimates suggesting supplies 40 to 47 of U.S. generic drugs. For example, Bloomberg dominance in generic drugs ingredients. And okay, so yeah, it's quite a bit on the generic drugs. Um, Specific ones: B1, B6, B12. Here, hydrochloroquine. I wonder what that is. Autoimmune disease, malaria. Okay, anti-malarials. Uh, so at the end of the day, as Babylon continues to isolate itself, okay, monetarily and uh, just just this arrogance, this pride, the pride of thine heart has deceived thee. Let me get that, because as a leader, so is his people. I believe that's in Obadiah, the pride of thine heart. Obadiah 1 and 3. We'll go there. Okay, and what else does the scripture say about pride? Pride goes before the fall, or before destruction. All right, let me read this right here. I know I'm all over the place, but these scriptures are coming, and I just wanted to uh, hone in on paying attention to, make sure the information that is presented is accurate. You have to do a diligent search, not only in your studies, right, going into root words, but looking up sources, checking everything, because it could be, that this devil is, trying to play, trying to be slick with things, okay, and then folks will run with certain things and run with information, and it not be real or not be accurate. But that does not mean that Babylon is not going to fall. Let me make that very clear. So let me read Obadiah 1 and 3. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? And that is the sentiment you see, but, that's not what the Lord has in mind. All right, that is not according to prophecy. Um, all these nations will hate the whore and burn her with fire. But before then, okay, there has to be a buildup, okay, an isolation of sorts. All right, people have to, or these other nations are going to have a reason to turn away from Babylon or to isolate her because she is causing issues, causing problems, all right, causing, raising hell for other nations, okay, and it starts here with this monetary or this trade war, this tariff war, okay, but they are causing issues in the EU as well. So we'll see how this all plays out. And again, this is just something, I guess a quick hit to remind anybody that is presenting information. We all have a responsibility to make sure that what we present is uh, accurate to the best, or do the best of your ability to present accurate information, or to make a diligent search and ensure that the information is accurate. Okay. So with that being said, this was another quick strike, and it was, a span of different subjects here. But prayerfully you stuck with me, and with that being said, on to the next show.